Hello, everyone. This is Kerwin, and welcome to another episode of What's Happening in Travel with Cushrow and Kerwin. Cushrow is not here today. Um, so the big news today, actually, first, behind me is a Southwest airplane. I think that's actually a Max, and I have a Southwest airplane today because. Our lead item is Southwest. Southwest has made a huge change in how they do things after 50 years of not assigning seats. In about 6 months or so, they're going to be assigning seats. And it's interesting how they rolled this out. So the Southwest memo said, Southwest Airlines launches enhancements to transform customer experience and improve financial performance. Airlines are notorious for wording things. So whenever they make a really big change, they will say things like enhancements to transform customer experience. And the most of the stuff I've seen online, people hate it. Some people actually do like it. So the idea is that they're going to assign seats. And the reason why I think they're doing this is, well, it's because they need to get money, right? Today, almost every airline you fly, unless you have the elite status or something, you have to pay to get the seat assignment that you want. With Southwest, you don't. You basically, well, you kind of do because they have something called the A list. And that gives you first dibs at the seats. And otherwise, it's based on when you check in. And so you check in at the airport, they have the different groups, and you board by your number. You're assigned a number based on when you check in. So you could be B30, which means you're in the B category, you're the 30th person. And when you go, you ask the person in front of you what your number is, and you basically fall in line where you're supposed to be. And you board by that. Typically, if you're in like the C group, you're going to get a middle seat. That's just kind of how it goes, unless there's people that wanted to sit next to each other. So the culture of Southwest is you just sit where you want to sit, then you get on the plane, and when you get on the plane and all the middle of the aisles are gone, it's just middle seat. You walk down the aisle and look and see who do you want to sit next to, who looks nice enough that you can sit next to. Um, I was on a bus once. I actually went to London for the 2012 Olympics, and myself and two other friends, we were going from London to Cardiff to see one of the football games, soccer games. And this young man, he was going to college. He goes to college in Cardiff, and he had like a really stern look in his face. And so I went and I sat like across from him, and then we started to talk because the drive was pretty long. And I said, "So why did you fix your face?" And he goes, if I have this face on, nobody will want to sit next to me. And so it's quite funny. And that's kind of what happens with Southwest. Nobody looks at you, they look away, they cover their faces, etc. Because everybody wants to have that middle seat open, but you don't want to pay for it. And so now Southwest is going to end up charging for those. So some of the stuff they said decides to assign seats and offer premium seating options to meet evolving customer preferences and increase revenue opportunities. Pretty sure it took them forever to come up with those wordings. Then the other one says introduces red-eye flights for sale to further optimize the network and increase aircraft utilization. Because of the system that Southwest is using, they can't do red-eye flights because red-eye flights, they depart on one day and arrive on another day. And so in the system, you'll have two flights with the same flight number that's operating. And Southwest system doesn't allow that. The other airlines do, so for example, if sometimes what you'll see is if you have a diversion, diversion is when your flight lands at an airport, an unscheduled airport before it gets to where you're supposed to be going. In some situations, if that goes over into another day, what the airlines will do, they'll assign a different flight number to your flight because they can't use the same flight number because there's already an existing flight for that day that has that flight number. So they can't use the same flight number. So all this is baked into the systems that they have, but Southwest doesn't have that. And so once they get their systems upgraded, they're going to do red-eye flights, which makes it quite interesting. The other thing they said was they're dedicating a Southwest officer, Ryan Green, to lead the new effort as Executive VP of Commercial Transformation. Airlines just make up names for their people all the time. It's quite funky. So just reading through here, it says, after listening carefully to customers and conducting extensive research, Southwest decided it will assign seats and offer premium seating options on all flights. The airline has been known for its unique open seating model for more than 50 years. But preferences have evolved with more customers taking longer flights where a seat assignment is preferred. Additionally, Southwest conducted robust operational testing that included live and over 8 million simulation-based boarding trials. The airline is confident that these customer enhancements will meet expectations and not compromise airline operational efficiency. I tell you, just because I've seen assignment, I don't think people are gonna not fly them. Matter of fact, they'll probably get more people flying them because some people are not flying them today because they can't get a seat assignment. So I think it'll be fine. However, though, I do think Southwest is going to end up charging for bags because right now you get 2 bags for free, which is a big selling point for them. But they are losing a lot of money. They're in a financial state at the moment. And so this is revenue that they're not collecting that they could be collecting. And everyone is doing it on other flights anyway. So you know, and the fact that they charge for bags isn't gonna stop people from flying Southwest, I don't think. But I think it would be too much to have rolled out all that at the same time. And so they're like, well, let's see how this goes first, and then we'll do the rest of it later. But I pretty much think that's now coming. So now what they say is that they've actually have red-eye flights. You can actually go to the southwest.com website, and the first overnight flights is landing on Valentine's Day in 2025 in 5 initial nonstop markets: Las Vegas to Baltimore, Orlando, Los Angeles to Baltimore, and Nashville and Phoenix to Baltimore. So if you go from Las Vegas to Baltimore on February 13th next year, you will be on a red-eye flight. You can take a red-eye flight to do that. Southwest plans to phase in additional red-eye flying in the carrier's coming schedules as part of its multi-year transformation to a 24-hour operation. Red-eye flying, coupled with continued reduction in turn time through new technologies and procedures, is expected to provide incremental revenue and cost savings, enabling Southwest to fund nearly all new capacity over the next 3 years without incremental aircraft capital deployment. So it'll be interesting to see how all that works out. And they've assigned a new VP to take care of all that. Good deal. Just trying to see if there's anything else in here. Nah, it's the usual PR mumbo jumbo. But customers are not happy because they like the open seating. So what do you think? Do you think Southwest should do the open seating? It's a thing. It's gonna happen. It's happening. And it makes sense. The other thing I wanted to address is people, bags, right? A lot of people, they call themselves team carry-on. And the sad thing about team carry-on people is that these bags are huge. And you should be able to check your bag if your bag is that huge. If you cannot lift your bag, you need to be checking your bag. This is how big these bags are. And you see people come on the planes and you're like, oh my God, look at the size of that bag. An interesting thing is when you fly like European international, European low-cost carriers, they have like a tiny thing. It's like a purse. You can put the thing in a little purse, a little purse holder, and then they have a carry-on, and the carry-on is tiny. It's not as big as the US one. And so when these Americans come with these bags, because it's typically Americans, the Europeans, they have the little tiny bags. And they've gotten accustomed to, like, I just flew a whole bunch of low-cost carriers and I use a tiny backpack. And it's you'd be amazed at what you can fit in your tiny backpack. Because one of the things that I did, I ended up washing, like, the clothes I wore on my first day, I washed them. And then, like, in about they were dry the next day in the hotel room, because Europe is actually quite hot. It's this summer, and they were dry. And so I had an extra set of clothing that I could wear, and which worked out well because I had to stay in a hotel for an extra night that I didn't plan on doing. So it all worked out really good. But consumers are carrying a lot more stuff because they don't want to pay for it. But the bags that they're taking them in are huge carry-on bags, and they don't want to pay for it. Now, one thing is that the airlines will if you can get to the gate with your big bag, they normally say, hey, if you're in group 9, you're gonna have to check your bag, but we'll check it for you to your final destination. Sad thing is that sometimes when they check your bag, it gets lost. And so which is why people like to carry their stuff with them. They're not gonna check them. So airlines, get your act together, stop losing people's bags, okay? Let's see what else I have. So the other huge thing that happened this week slash last week is there was an IT outage. Um, there's a company called Crowdstrike, and what they do is that they provide it's stuff that you don't think about. It's a little back-end security thing. And that was actually connected to a lot of the airlines are using this as a buffer. And somebody loaded a patch, and the patch was an incorrect patch. Now, a patch is just a computer code to fix something. And whatever, I don't know if they didn't test it or whatever the deal was, but it messed up the systems. Now, a lot of company use this buffer company to protect their information. And you woke up and a lot of flights were canceled because the computer systems weren't working. And I even noticed at one of the airports, I saw the board, which is they call them departure boards, or the FIDS, flight information displays. And that was using CrowdStrike. The guy was in a directory called CrowdStrike, which is quite interesting. So it affected a lot of things. Now, most airlines came back up pretty much the next day, but Delta is still having issues. And I think today is Saturday, July 27th, when I'm recording this, and they're still having some issues. They're recovering, but they're still having some issues, at least in some airports. And I think they've offered like 10,000 miles to people that were affected. But whenever anything like this happens, just always send a note to customer service. Make sure you have a frequent flyer number for that airline, and they'll either give you miles or they'll give you some type of compensation. And now somebody's calling for the customers to get a refund if their flights were canceled, which you're entitled to anyway. Problem with refunds, and I had an issue with Spirit this past week. When you're traveling, a refund doesn't help you. So the fact you're going to give me back my money doesn't mean I can get home when I need to. So your goal is to get me home. Then after that, then I can get a refund. In this case, I had to buy another ticket, so I'm going to use my Spirit will give me my refund, and then I'll claim something with my travel insurance to see if I get any money back. But it was a hell of a week because people were stranded all over the place. The flights weren't moving, and like I said, people are still trying to recover from all that. So that's it. That's the big news that occurred. I didn't get any questions this week, but I think I'm trying to think. Those are kind of the big news items that were there. Quickly checking IT outage in Southwest. But yeah, I think that was all that occurred. But if you have any questions or any comments about the Southwest situation, and also the IT outage. If you're affected by the IT outage, leave me a note and let me know what you think of all that. So this is Kerwin with password.com and cruiseonto.com, and another episode of What's Happening in Travel with Cushrow and Kerwin. And Cushrow wasn't here today, and we'll talk soon. Have a good trip.